Alright guys, this is Jacob Power here and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing the Panasonic HVX200 Ultimate Video Review.
Yeah, okay. Let's go. Y'all just mad we scoring. Yeah, okay. 3-point shoot, we ballin'. Yeah, okay. I'm president important. Yeah, okay. Your girlfriend keep calling. Yeah, okay. We got it. Yeah, okay. My product. Yeah, I gave it ships. My bitch exotic. Yeah, okay. We got it. Yeah, okay. My product. Yeah, okay. Stacking chips. New world is ours. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Y'all gon' fuck up who? What? Yeah, okay. Y'all been sniffing too much grams, oh yeah. Whip that shit like Lando Late. Y'all want beef, I am gourmet. Taking pics in your backyard. Bitch, you ain't a bitch, Sandro Pay. Your Instagram is a liar. Instagram is a liar.
So, I decided to make this video to save you guys time. If you're looking to get in to filming with a Panasonic HVX camera and watch this video, you'll learn all the tips and tricks, know where to go to buy the stuff, buy the fisheyes, buy the cables. By the end of it, you'll be a HVX200 master. When I started off looking for the camera, I went on YouTube. There's a few videos, a few guides, a few little videos, but there's not one full package teaching you how to kind of use the camera, what lenses to use, what size is the full, what P2 card you use, how much does it cost, what fits with what. All the different things that go into buying a new camera, especially when it's an old one like this, you know. People back then weren't using it for these purposes, and now you kind of just got a little tight-knit, close community of people who kind of, it's a niche thing, and you don't really get the advice you need. There are a few forums online, but again, it's all scattered here and there, so I thought I'd bring all my knowledge into one place. Let's go.
Yeah, okay. Your girlfriend keep calling. Yeah, okay, we got it. Yeah, okay, my product. Yeah, I gave it ships. My bitch exotic. Yeah, okay, we got it. Yeah, okay, my product. Yeah, okay. Stacking chips. New world is ours. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
So, starting it off, we'll do a little bit of camera history. Camera was released in 2005 for the 60Hz marketplace. It was then released in 2006 for the 50Hz marketplace. This is a 50Hz version of the camera, which is the European standard. So the camera itself shoots in 720p, which is the video format that you'll see most people using. It does 1080i, but again, that was more of a standard back then, and you wouldn't use it now. It was used for things like television and stuff like that. So if you're using it in the 720p mode, like you will, it goes from 24 frames a second to 60 frames a second. I think you can play around and get it all the way down to like 7, but you're going to be using 30 to 60 or 50 in my case, and that works really good for slow motion video and just general fast moving clips like BMX, which is the reason why it got picked up by the skate and BMX scene. The camera itself uses P2 cards. This version, the 200E, has a cassette tape also on it. It was in the crossover period where people were going from cassette tapes to these new P2 memory cards. At the time they were really expensive, and not everyone was even had a need to use HD video, but if you did, you could use those. The cards themselves go up to I think 256 gigabytes now, but at the time it was 8 to 16 gigs. I've got a 16 gigabyte card which has an hour's worth of footage. The idea is they've got 2 ports, so you use one of them up, you import the footage, and then while you're doing that you use your other card to record more video. The P2 cards were marketed as like a cassette alternative, so they didn't have a lot of memory, but you could use one up, import the footage. While you're importing the footage, put another card in, or import the footage and just put it straight back in, as you didn't have the run back time you did with cassette tapes. Personally, I find the 16 gigabytes I've got works fine for now. You still get an hour's worth of footage, which again is the same with the tape, so you just gotta learn to be quick with your record button. The camera itself was used in the 2006 Olympics, was used in BBC television news reporting. It was marketed as a compact pro camera. For the time, this was a really small unit. Compared to today's standards, it's not, but back then it was a really small compact camera you could bring around.
My bitch exotic. Yeah, okay, we got it. Yeah, okay, my product. Yeah, okay. Stacking chips. New world is ours. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Y'all gon' fuck up who? What? Yeah, okay. Y'all been sniffing too much grams, oh yeah.
Okay, now for some BMX related history and skate. For this, wore my Vans skate junk t-shirt. I think the first time I ever heard about this camera being used was when obviously Beagle, I know when he had to start going from VX to HD, he chose to use this camera with the big Whaler fisheye. For BMX you've got Stranger No Height, you know, the classic Sean Ricani, Gabe Brooks videos, they were recorded on that, you know. Do a large with my bit, mommy do a grande big Sean with my bit, going hard for my bit, shit. Quality in that looks so good. You got Francis Castro using it for like Ethan Courier, Devin Smiley. He dying in his Nikes, boys hate me cause their girlfriend like me. I'm lazy, smoking blunts in my lifespan. 380, I'm a hoe with the right hand, don't try. All those videos you'd see back in the day, I remember watching those things and the colours just looked amazing. You know, I didn't even realise that's the camera it was taken on. It wasn't until I got this, I was like, damn, that's how they were getting those crispy colours, like that beautiful fisheye, like low down shots with the handle. You got a man like Ben Norris. I'm pretty sure he uses the HVX200E, but again, he's using that. So as you can see from those examples, you know, it's got a rich BMX history. You get that definite look from the camera. It's hard to explain, but you get just a little bit of grain, high quality image. The image itself is only 720p at 60 frames a second, but it just matches even some of the 4K cameras of today, just from the way the image processor works. You've got a nice big processor inside it, and that 3CCD like image processing and lens system just looks amazing. I forgot to say actually, the camera's also got a Leica lens. You've got a Leica lens, Leica glass on the front, so again you're going to get a really clean image with this camera.
And this old lady keep that work right by her ovary. If you come that way, they known to pay to break your shoulder blade. Damn, you be in the club, boys, I'm drinking by.
So let's talk about pricing now. I got this camera, whole package, £450, £10 shipping. That was for the camera and one 16GB P2 card. Looking at it now, it's actually a 64 P2 card. I'm not going to go back and edit the video, but yeah, it turns out it wasn't a 16GB card, it was a 64 gig, so that's what I've got, and that was worth of footage. Yeah, so I got the camera and a 64GB P2 card for £450. It was actually a really good price. I think there's a little bit of damage on the front, and the camera's definitely used, had a few dinks and scratches on it, but you know, for a camera of that age, and it's such a robust metal camera, it's just such a good price. I've seen other ones on eBay for about £450 without the card, and the cards themselves go for about £200 each. So actually, if you can try find, you get lucky like I did, you get yourself a real good deal, or again, you're gonna have to look for the camera and card separately. I think in this case, I think a lot of these cameras ended up in universities and colleges, because at the time, again, it was just like a cheaper alternative for a professional camera. I think that's where mine might have come from. It had like a pass certification on the wiring, and then actually it had a cassette tape inside it, and they were filming like American video conferences. So this camera's been all over the world, and it's still surviving now. So I think that's one of the bonuses about newer cameras as well, is that you look at things like the VX1000s and things like that, they're quite not the most durable of cameras, whereas this, it's just such a big beast of a camera. You know, you're snapping off this all the time on your VXs, that's going nowhere. You got all your buttons, all your bells, all your whistles all in one. I think your best bet, like I did, is just to go on eBay, see what you can get.
We ballin', yeah, okay. I'm president important, yeah, okay. Your girlfriend keep calling.
Alright, so now you've got your camera, you want to know why would you want to use one? This is going to be my personal opinions of why you'd want to get one of these here cameras. This is going to be a general overview. I think first there's just something about the way this camera produces colour. Same as like reason why people like the VX1000, you can make your sky look really golden. You know, you get your blues, just the colour looks so crispy, and you can do the same kind of thing on this camera. You can play around with your colours. You've got all those settings and all those features that you might not need, but when you have them, you can really play around with your footage and get that perfect looking shots. And it's just like, yeah, you get a really raw, authentic feel, and it's the details you get from the video just looks so good. Frame rate's another thing I really like. You know, you got the 60p, which again is just 30p, 30 frames a second, still good, but the 60 it captures just half more details. The slow motion looks really good. For action sports, it's just a good thing to have, especially because when you got 720p, you might be lacking a little bit of quality compared to maybe like a 1080p alternative, but I think that frame rate really makes up for it, and you still get, yeah, basically when you render out the footage, you get a 720p 60 frames a second file, and that's starting to get a little bit old. And you know, YouTube doesn't consider 720p HD anymore, but you still get away with it. It's not anything lower than that you wouldn't want to use, but it's still good for having a 16:9 project at the end of it. Ergonomics. This camera is very ergonomic. Again, you can film a good BMX video with anything. Back in the day we filmed FDSR bikers with an iPhone with a fisheye and it still looked good. But when you've got a big chunky camera, same as a VX again, when you've got a big chunky camera, this camera does sometimes get a little bit heavy, but when you've got a big chunky camera, I'll show you in the rundown video, you've got a record, stop, start button on the top and you're just filming and you can just wheel the camera around using your hand. There's just no feeling like it, and you can honestly just capture the subject in a way you couldn't do with just like a regular DSLR with an X grip or a phone. And it's one of those things, it's like you don't need it, but when you have it you really appreciate the way it just feels like it's made for BMX and skateboarding. Like, even though it wasn't, it just feels like it's something that was just made and works really well in that scene. It's just like a really overall good, reliable camera. And if you get it for a good price, you know, why wouldn't you? It's kind of just like that next step up, you know. There's a lot of different cameras you can get that will look good for BMX and skateboarding and extreme sports, but it's for the price, for under £1,000 it's a good option, you know. A lot of the things you see shot by Red Bull and Monster, you're looking at like good lot of money basically to get that quality, and if you want just some authentic BMX looking footage, it works wonders.
Cooler, you can hate on me. Sip your Haterade. I bang on you just like a 808.
Alright, so now we're going to talk about the fisheye lens. This is a 72mm 3ccD fisheye lens from @VX Marketplace on Instagram. It cost me $400, which is, yeah, it cost me $400, which I think converts to about 321 quid. Well, that's how much I got charged for anyway, because it was $350, £50 shipping to the UK. And for the price, again, decent fisheye. It's a little bit smaller than the threads on the actual camera, which is a 82mm, so you have to have a step down ring on the back of it, and then it does mean when you have the footage, like you can see back here, you have to crop in a little bit, but for the price you get a really good quality fisheye lens that works wonders with the camera. So yeah, you often see the OPTEKA 32mm lens being used. I'm not sure if they're stopped producing, or not exactly sure what the deal is, but you can't really find them. They're not very readily available, so finding one of those was hard. You've then also got the Century Optics whale eye massive giant fisheye lens, which I've seen a few of those go online, but they're just over 1,000 quid. But if you got the money, again, beautiful combo. That's what you see in the Stranger No Hype video. You see that massive. I honestly don't even know how that guy was holding that lens with the camera for so long filming, because even the camera with this fisheye starts to hurt your arms. You've got to really get those gains in before you buy this camera. But yeah, so for the price, I'll link where I got mine below. For the price, it's a really good lens. You just get away with the 72mm with the adaptation ring. You do have to crop in a little bit. You do get a few black bars on the side, you'll see in the examples I show you. Whereas obviously if you had a bigger one, you wouldn't get as many. If you have the Panasonic HVX200E, that's actually a 72mm, so you'd probably be better with this because you would have less of the black bars. You know, I make do, it still looks really sick. Sometimes I kind of like the little vignette, even though it's not the best. So I'm going to cut to some sequence shots of this, because there's not really a lot to say. Whatever one you get is going to work. Don't go for the really cheap options. So now I'm going to do some comparison shots, because can't show you, I'm recording on it, but we got a Canon 650D with your Samyang 8mm fisheye, which is what you see in most people have got. If you're into BMX and you want a fisheye, this is basically the combo. Cheapest, lasts forever, really good. And then I'm going to compare it to this fisheye with the camera. The image you get with the Panasonic AG-HVX200 is just, you know, it's unbeatable in my opinion. So we're going to do a little comparison now.
You niggas handle me, my family, we get that bread, cheese, and the cake. The candidate to see my name up on the Phantom.
So yeah, I think the best place if you want to buy one, eBay doesn't really seem to be the best place for fisheyes. I'd say stay on Instagram. There's loads of different niche little Instagram pages that sell off old parts. To be fair, you might be able to find some on eBay, just anywhere that sells used stuff, because a lot of this stuff you can't really buy new anymore. It's all just old.
My product, yeah, I gave the shit. My bitch exotic, yeah, okay, we got it, yeah, okay, my product, yeah, stacking chips.
So, start off, Panasonic battery. You've already charged it, you put it in the charger the same way as this, so you can figure that out. Push it in, and it slots in, bang, you're done. Push that button, slots out again, easy as that. You got a nice exposed battery. If you're a DSLR guy, you're probably not used to that. On button here, you've got the little on lock, so you've got to push that little white thing down, switch on. And then here we have P2 card, push this, push it again, P2 card comes out, bang, you literally take your P2 card, there you go, that was a little look. So you got loads, you can't really see, but you got loads of little holes in there which connect to the pins in there, so you do want to be careful when pushing this in that you don't bend any of those really delicate little things. I don't think it's that much of an issue, but I have heard that has happened to some people. On the back, we're going to go through the basics. We've got scene files, audio channels, PC, which is P2 card, and we've got dub, so if you want to switch it to dub, that changes you to your cassette. This side of the camera, we have audio inputs, which again, if you're not using this to do news broadcasting, you're not probably going to need that, but if you do, it is there. A little switch up here that'll open your cassette tray if you do choose to film cassette. Didn't mention this in the actual video, it does actually come in handy if you've got a mate with a VX and you're out and about and he wants to get a clip. You can whack a tape in here, have it ready, and then you can film the VX clip. So yeah, you've got the homies backs with this little bit. Up here we've got the view piece. This little button here switches from video to if you want to watch back your footage, and then when you're actually importing the footage you're going to want to hold this down. Alright, another cut. So yeah, at the bottom we've got the basic switch, auto, if you want everything to be automatic. Don't stick to that, you can when you're first using it, but manual's always the best. Switch it to manual. These buttons on the bottom, not actually sure what they do, but they're not important. So display just changes the information in your display, so if you want more information you press it, if you want less you press it again. Image stabilization, so again you want to have that turned on when you're doing long lens. You've got your fisheye on, you want to switch that off because it will make your vignetting and the edges start to wibble. Got your zebra, you press that and it will show you all the overexposed points of your shot. You don't have to really worry about that when running and gunning for a BMX video, but obviously if you're shooting something more professional like they would have done back in the day and there's TV standards, you've got to use that. Then you've got a counter and a reset, that's just for timing, which again you don't have to worry about if you're doing BMX kind of stuff. We then have channels, just leave it on the top one, the bottom and the bottom, because you don't want any of those channels to be used. We then have bars, which is for when you're recording tapes. I don't know what it does, but it shows the bar on the screen. Then we've got shutter speed, so you're going to click that and it will let you change your shutter. So you want to have that on and then you can play around with whatever shutter speed works. For my preference, I stick to a 1.125. You now have white balance, BA, basically all settings. So if you have it on B, you then want to press your auto white balance button on the front and it will then set it to that B setting. You can then switch to A and set another white balance. When you switch between the two, it will let you then have two presets you can quickly switch between. So that is a nice little feature if you're just switching between the two. You then have gain of low, medium and high. This is basically iOS for DSLR guys. Low's roughly about 100, medium's about 200 and then high is about 400 to maybe 800, but back then, especially with video, you didn't have a lot of high ISOs compared to obviously the settings you have now. Best to stick to low if you can, but even on a high you're not going to get too much grain because obviously the ISOs weren't really that high back then anyway. Okay, so then you have focus assist. You'll see if you press this it zooms into the middle of the frame and lets you get a better focus because you can see it more zoomed in. You then have autofocus, which works okay. Down to manual. Manual then lets you just switch off the focus. You hold it up saying you want to focus on, push this button down and it will then focus on your subject and then it will stick that. So the best option, leave it on manual, push the button down and it will focus on your thing, and then obviously if you take your fisheye off then just refocus on whatever you're doing. Good options. You then have the iris button. Press the iris button, switch this little switch and it will let you change your aperture. If you're on manual focus you can also use this ring to focus, but I tend to stay away from that. If your zoom is turned to manual you can use this little thing to just zoom really quickly in and out, but a lot of the time I find this isn't the most effective because you get quite a juddery little zoom with that, but each to their own. If you need to do a fast zoom in situation that's good. Give it a little switch. It then doesn't allow you to use this anymore. Now your cameras will let you zoom using your zoom rockers. So again that's the best way to do it. You can use both of them to get a really consistent zoom. We also have a record button which is there. The other one's on the power button at the back, but this one when you're gripping the camera you can press that nice and easy to start shots on and off when you're filming. This is one of my main features of the camera I like because it's so easy just to hold it, press on and off. Alright, for this video I'm just going to go through scene file and recording setup, as there's so many different menu options on this and you only really need to get an idea of 1 and 5 for like your basic overview. Scene files, video cam, that keeps you to your basic video frame rates. So if you're on film cam you can then take your frame rate and you can actually select from a different variety of frame rates. So you can go 8 all the way down to 18, 20. If you're really looking for a variable frame rate you can do that, but obviously in most cases you're not going to want to. I'll just stick with video camera. You now have all your different chroma levels and color temperatures, so this is the most important thing. You can play around with these and really get an idea for just increasing your colors Alright, then we're also going to look at recording setup, and this is what I'm always talked about. You've got all your different settings. I keep it at 720p at 50 frames a second. You can also do 25, or like I said, switch it to the film camera setting and choose your frame rate. Do 30 if you want to stick to a normal standard. Again, like I said, you've got the 1080i 25p variant, but again, that's just going to give you two 720p frames interlaced together, so I wouldn't recommend that option. Don't be fooled into thinking that is a 1080p image. You got the main preview settings. You can go through, look at your footage, press play. Simple as that. Press menu, and menu lets you do other things like format your cards, which I'm not going to do now. So yeah, now you've actually gone and got your camera, you've got your fisheye, you've recorded some clips, you can put your P2 card in, but you want to put the footage on your computer. This is what you're going to need. So there's loads of different alternatives. Back in the day you had P2 card readers, again really expensive, hard to find now. There's not really any point in getting one of those. And then the second option is getting a USB 2.0A male to a U point. I have to use my phone here because I cannot remember what it is. USB 2.0A male to mini B cable. I'm going to link this in the description because this is the hardest thing to find because there's so many different types of USB. Once you find the exact one, this lets you plug a USB-A directly into your camera, and then once you're there, there's another load of stuff you're going to have to do, which we're going to cover now.
Now right around my waist is where the hammer stay, cause I be damned if I let one you niggas handle me. My family, we get that bread, cheese, and the cake. The candidate to see my name up on the fan.
Okay, so now you've connected the camera to your computer. I'll be using a Mac, so it might vary for Windows. You're going to click on it, contents, and you're going to see all these different things. You're going to click on video, and you're going to notice you've got these weird MXF files, and there's your video, but you can't do anything with it, and there's no audio. You then click on your audio, and now you've got audio. And you're thinking, how am I going to link these together? Well, that's where your editing software will come in. You're going to need some professional editing software. I'm going to be using Final Cut Pro. I've tried this on iMovie, unfortunately it doesn't work, so you're either going to have to get this or find an alternative route. So yeah, you're going to jump into your editing software, Final Cut Pro, import media, and then it's going to come up. Going to wait for it to load, and it's going to come up, and it'll automatically sync all your clips into one place. So say we're going to import this clip, and then just simply import it. And what it's going to do is link it all up and import it into your editing software. And I know that Final Cut Pro likes to package all your original content into the actual video folder itself. You won't be able to export that footage straight away. You do actually have to drop this footage into a video project and export it out. But yeah, as you can see, you now have the clip. So yep, 720p, whack that up 50 frames a second, and there you go, you can whack the footage. Okay, last little thing I'm going to show you how to do. As you can see, I've got the vignette, which is slightly into my frame because I'm using the 72mm lens with the 82mm step down ring. So what you're going to do is click on it, and then I like to expand my footage out to the edge as that side, bring it in, and there you go, you have a nice decent looking clip. Bring your footage out even more if you really wanted to, and only have that section in, and there you go. Because the lens is so wide and we've got a nice high quality lens, you still get a really good image. It's actually a lot simpler than you think once you have all the things to do it. So, now covered everything there is to know about the Panasonic AG-HVX200E / any other Panasonic camera that's similar to this. Hopefully now I've encouraged you to go out and get one, or if you've already bought one, this video has helped you, because I know when I first got into it, it's all a bit confusing, you know, you don't really know where to go. So yeah, this is the ultimate Panasonic guide wrapped up. So yeah, make sure you subscribe if you liked it, like if you liked it, drop me a comment, ask me any questions, I'll respond. Follow Jacob Theo Power on Instagram, follow at Few That's Still Riding Instagram, that's the crew them. You know, COVID's got us locked down at the moment, but we're riding safely whenever we can. It's been winter, so we haven't really been doing so much, but obviously if you want to subscribe, we've got loads of BMX vlogs, loads of BMX content. On the Instagram we've got so much, we're putting work in, because you know, we're trying to make BMX the game. Hope this video helped. Go check out all the stuff, subscribe, check out the vlogs, pre the footage in the background if you want to see that in real life, and yeah, hopefully see you guys real soon.
Yeah, okay, my product, yeah, okay. Stacking chips, the word is ours.